So the other day I was out here talking to you guys about what varieties of squash and zucchini that I grow. And I told you that this entire row was golden zucchini and I couldn't figure out why the one squash had the green tips. Well, that's because it's a zephyr. I remember now I planted the goldens and I actually planted all of my squash. And a few days later, we had like a terrible windstorm come through and it broke the stalks on some of my squash and zucchini plants. So I had to come back in and direct sow. And one of the things that I direct sowed was zephyr squash. So that explains why my golden zucchini has the green tips. So the other day when I was telling you that I have golden zucchini and one of them happened to have green tips, I had no idea what I was talking about. Anyway, story for the day. Sometimes we forget what we plant where. This is my first year planting this lemon squash, and I will plant this every year. It does have more of a seedy texture than your other type of squash, and I think it's just because it's like a condensed little fruit. This one's actually malformed. It's two together. Kind of funny. But these have been so prolific, and I'll take y'all inside in a second and show y'all how many I've collected this week off of these 3 plants. But it is insane. I will plant this every year because it's definitely been more prolific than a straight neck or a crook neck. It does kind of vine, like it has the tendrils coming off of it. I didn't trellis it, but I guess you could if you wanted to. It's kind of like an in-between, like looking at the plants. It's like not a trellising squash, but not a bush squash either. But yeah, these have been super prolific. These and my white bush scallops, holy cow, they produce so many. I gave a bunch of them away last week, but they've been pretty prolific as well. And I'll definitely be growing the lemon squash again. I don't even know if y'all can see me back in here. This part of my garden is officially a jungle. These white bush scallops are like crazy. And like I said, they've been so prolific. And I like the texture of these. These are like they're a firmer texture squash when you cook them down. Like even cooking them down, they still stay pretty firm. But they have a buttery texture, or a buttery taste to me, not texture, buttery taste to me. And so I'll keep growing these as well. I'd only ever grown the yellow patty pan, I think is what everybody calls it, yellow bush scallop. But this year I decided to grow the whites, and these are fantastic. These are better to me than the yellows. The yellows actually are not super prolific for me. Like I've gotten probably 5 or 6. I don't know, I'd have to look back to count. But the whites are very prolific. All right, we gotta go to the other sides. I finally have blooms on my first set of eggplants. These are the Black Beauty eggplant. And I've had this little guy hanging out on my deal all week. He is a swallowtail butterfly, so he'll eventually turn into a butterfly. He's the only one though, it's so weird. I have this pea vine right here that I'm actually letting dry up. I noticed a few days ago that it was starting to dry. We'll let it dry out and we'll actually collect these seed pods. Like you'll notice that they're nice and fat and they're kind of starting, I don't know if you can see that, all the shadows, but they're starting to dry out. When these are completely dried out and brown, I'll come back and harvest these and pull the seeds out, and that's what I'll use to plant my snap peas, sweet peas, snap peas next year. So just all these seed pods will eventually dry out as this vine dries out. It'll probably take a few weeks for it to finish drying out. While I was collecting peas, I found a giant cucumber. My cucumber plants are full of blooms, and actually this trellis is starting to lean. So I'm gonna have to come in and put a T-post in, I think, to keep it from falling over. I thought it was gonna be big enough. Some of these are like, I may not have any more cucumbers today. They're like kind of sort of ready, but need a little bit more. So maybe I'll just come back this afternoon because they do grow insanely fast and I don't want them to get too big, but definitely bigger than they are now. Oh, here's some. I knew there was some I left yesterday. And I always like double check and look multiple times because I always forget when there's one. See, that's what I'm saying. They like to hide from you. Another one. I didn't think I had any ready today. Oh, there's one hiding in the backside over here. Where are you? I saw you. There we go. Just gonna go ahead and take these because I'm afraid if I leave them, then tomorrow they're gonna be giant. Just gonna go ahead and take these size ones too. I don't want them to be too big tomorrow. There was another one down here that was somewhat ready. Rather take them a little bit too early than too late, because if you leave fruit on to when it gets to the stage that it's getting overripe, which means that it's going to start producing the seeds that you would plant next year, it tells the plant to quit growing, essentially, and to quit producing, because you've gone from producing fruit to producing seeds. So that's like the life cycle of the plant. So you want to make sure that you're always gathering your produce in a timely manner so that your plant's not going, oh, we're done collecting fruit, it's time to produce seed. So sometimes it is better to just go ahead and take these off early than waiting another day and collecting them late. Okay, I think that's all of them for today. I only have, right here, there's 5 cucumber plants. And then over there, there's just the one. So I only have 6 cucumber plants. I'm not one of those who plants a ton in excess. Like, I basically plant like what we need. I don't really like having to give away. I have been giving away the last 2 weeks produce. I also don't want to overwhelm myself and plant 20 cucumber plants and then have no idea what to do with 20 cucumber plants and have an abundance of pickles that we would never eat in a year. So it seems kind of wasteful, and then a poor use of my space and time when I have so many other things that are going on. Okay, I think I got all the cucumbers for today. I actually think I got everything for today. None of my tomatoes are red yet. Peppers aren't producing yet. The eggplants are just starting to flower. So now it is time to water everything for the day. We're going to set this up here. I do need to check the okra. I started harvesting a couple pieces yesterday. Of course, it'll take a little bit. Once you cut your first few pieces, it'll really start producing more because that'll signal to the plant that we're harvesting. I just use soaker hoses in this in-ground garden bed. This is my first year really with an in-ground garden bed. The soaker hoses have been working fine. I didn't really like them in my raised beds, but for out here, they're working pretty well. And I just let each soaker hose run for about 20 minutes, and it gets the ground pretty damp under each one. I don't think there's any okra today. I try and pick okra when it's the size of my thumb, because if you wait any longer than that, it really gets woody. I grew a Louisiana long pod, and so I actually had to ask in the Baker Creek Facebook group yesterday if you still harvest the Louisiana long pod when it's the size of your thumb, and the consensus was yes. Even though they have the nice, pretty long pods posted on their Facebook group, nobody recommended letting them get that long. That's why it's important sometimes to ask the questions when you're growing new varieties, is because sometimes the pictures that they put out can be really deceiving. My tomatoes are really booming this week. They're getting nice and big. These celebrity tomatoes I've been so impressed with. If you scroll back a few videos, I talk about which varieties I grew this year and why. And these celebrities I will grow. This is my first year growing the celebrity, actually, and I'll grow these again. Anything that has like this little yellowing with the black spots, you want to go ahead and pick off. That's early blight. And the reason that I have it is we have gotten so much rain. And a few videos back, I posted videos right after the rain where the whole tomato garden was flooded. For the most part, it hasn't been severely affected by the rain, but I still get these few limbs of blight here and there. There's one on the back side. I just always make sure there's no fruit attached to it. But yeah, these celebrities have been insane. Like here's some more. I cannot wait to start harvesting these. One of my favorite things to do is to can tomatoes and pasta sauce. Let's see. This whole row is like the Floridade Ace 55 and one other one, Marglobes. Floridade Ace 55s and Marglobes, I think. But they are super producers also. These have always done really well for me in Florida. Like I'm so excited for tomato season. I didn't grow tomatoes for the longest time because I had tried and was super unsuccessful. And then I just found out that it was because I was trying to grow the wrong kinds, or I was trying to grow indeterminates, which do not like me at all. I love determinates. And so once I figured out which varieties I needed to grow for my area, and of course for my garden and my soil type, I have loved growing and the processing. We have a fruit worm on this one. I've loved growing and processing tomatoes. Like, has to be my favorite. These tomatoes on this end are actually younger than the bigger ones on the end. Actually, they're not younger. So, funny story. So, I started all my own seeds this year. I think I bought one pepper plant because my chickens came in and destroyed it, and I bought my herb plants. Those are the only things that I didn't grow from seed this year. And so I had a greenhouse full of tomato plants, and the grow lights fell on these tomato plants on this end. And I thought they were done. I thought they were like toast. They were nice and crisp. And I continued to water them, and they did bounce back. So they are just a little bit behind. And so that same day, I was like, you know what? This is not going to defeat me. I'll just be a few weeks behind growing tomatoes for my area. So it was probably about 4 weeks in, I'd say. They were nice tomatoes. So I started new seeds. And so those are actually the higher ones on the end are the younger plants from the new seeds that I started. Well, as I was taking care of the ones that the grow light fell on, they continued to grow, just at a slower rate because, of course, I had damaged them. And so when it came time to plant my garden, I was only supposed to have like 40 tomato plants, and I have 70. I think it's like 79. And I planted them anyway. So they've grown a little bit slower, but they're still going to produce, and they're really starting to catch up. Like, you can't honestly tell they're that far behind unless you're standing here and you realize how much shorter they are. So yeah, the year that I was going to do 40 tomato plants, which is the most I have ever done. Like, I think last year I had 10. Because like I said, I was trying to master which varieties to grow. I never had much luck. And so the year I was supposed to have 40 tomato plants, I have 79. So might be the craziest year ever. May never have 79 again. We'll see when I start harvesting and processing if I can handle it all. But my goal is to make all the tomato products, of course, that our family uses. We eat spaghetti once a week. Who doesn't? It's cheap and easy. And then I use diced tomatoes a lot when I'm cooking, probably like twice a week. So in reality, I probably needed 79 tomatoes, and God was just like, hey, Here's your 79 tomato plants you need. So there's that story. These cherry tomatoes have been really pretty. And then these are Cherokee purple. And I grew all these in my raised garden beds. There's another pot of cherry tomatoes. These are so cool. I love the Cherokee purple. They add just like a really cool color in with your diced tomatoes because they got that purpley color. And then these are my tomatillo plants that are full. I only grow 2 of them because I'm just going to use it to make salsa verde for enchiladas. The bees and the butterflies were really working today. So before this just topples right on over because it's really leaning, I'm just going to go ahead and anchor it. My dogs are going to be my assistants today. I said I was going to wait on my husband, but this is something I can handle without him. I don't know why I was going to wait on him. I do have to be needy sometimes, though. Hopefully I don't damage my cucumber plants in the process. I think I got everything out of the way. And then I'll get some string and tie it. Okay, the other side. Probably should have done this when I put it up, but I just thought it's sandwiched between these 2 beds, and I thought it would be fine. Not fine, not fine. Okay, let's get some string and tie them. Okay, now it's less leany. That's better. I got the big garden watered, so now I'm just watering these 2 big raised beds, and then I have to come back in and hand water all of my smaller raised beds. It's time for a new flower bouquet in my kitchen, and so I'm going to go with pink zinnias this time. Last week I did the orange and the pink, and you'll see that they're starting to come back. And somebody's going to say, oh my goodness, you're not leaving any for the pollinators. Well, I have tons planted for the pollinators. I also have marigolds and these giant sunflowers that should start blooming. And as you can see, there's already new zinnias coming. When you trim your zinnias back, again, it triggers them to produce more, and it keeps them from getting also lanky, and it'll make them put shoots out to the sides with more zinnias, so it'll keep them kind of more compact, more of a compact plant. This one didn't branch and give me a good stem, so I'm not going to cut it. So it's okay to cut them, and in my case I have more for the pollinators. So a little boy loved this one. It's actually starting to Go ahead and chop its side shoots off too, because it's not a very large plant. Some of these needed to be cut. I have some wildflowers at the top of the hill that I'm going to go cut to go with these. Some little white wildflowers that I think will be really cute to add in. I'm going to chop this one so that it'll... You always just want to leave a set of leaves though when you're chopping, because leaves are how it gets its nutrients from the sun to keep producing. These all got knocked over when we had that really bad windstorm. So like some of them have really crooked stems. Hopefully they'll perk back up as well, you can see the sunflowers are starting to have a, like here's the long stalk, they're starting to have an upward turn. These kind of needed to be trimmed anyway because their stems were damaged. I don't think I have any other pinks planted anywhere. I'll go check and see really quick. In the other garden, I think everything else is pretty much purple, yellow, orange. And I'm trying to stick to pinks and whites today. This is kind of the color scheme that I'm working with so far. Let's go see what else I can find. I don't think I have anything else. Like I think that's going to be, that's too purple. Too purple. That's a good color, but it doesn't have a very long stem. That's going to be too purple. I don't want to add in yellow. I guess I could add in yellow. Some of these have yellow. I could add in some giant yellow marigolds because some of these have the yellow. There's one. Some of these have the yellow center, so the yellow would be fine. Are there any others? Oh, great. Now I've got the one, because there are no other yellows. I think all my other ones are orange. There's that one. I think all my other ones are like bright. Yeah, I don't want to do those colors today. That one's kind of the same. Here, we'll use it today. It's kind of along the same lines. So is that one. And this one. Okay, I think we have enough of these. I want to go get some filler from up on the hill, so these will all work. And then we'll go get some filler from up on the hill. That looks cute together. Done one set of the little fillers right here. This might actually be enough. Let's see. I'm just going to end up cutting it all, and then when I get inside, I can choose what length that I need it at, because I'm not sure which vase I'm going to use. But this should be plenty, actually. Looking at it, I thought I was going to have to drive up the hill some more, but this should be plenty. I think that's plenty. You want pieces over here that I'll take. Okay, so now this is what we're working with. I think that'll be so cute together in a vase. Now let's see if I can get my floral skills together. So as I was walking away, I actually decided that I might need like some green, and I know this is a freaking weed. Like it might look really freaking cute in the vase. So we're going to take some of it as well. And I always look and make sure that there aren't like any pollinators on these using them. Like, see, that's gonna be so freaking cute. Oh, holy moly. I'm loving it. Loving it. Okay. That's probably enough of that. Y'all, this is gonna look so cute. Okay. Yeah, I think I got enough. Let's go inside and see what we can do. I am not a professional, so y'all do not judge my flower making skills here. I'm trying to get better by like looking at pictures on Pinterest and stuff, and every now and then I'll do one that's like, ah! But most of the time, not. So, I think that we want to trim like a little bit off of these. I stumbled across 3 more cucumbers while I was watering.